name is Elaine and Vance. I'm the Director of Human Resources, and today we're going to be talking about evaluating staff performance. Okay, our course objectives is we're going to try to learn different ways where we can make evaluations meaningful and fair. Okay, there's several ways to do this. There's different kinds of evaluations. There's evaluative versus developmental. We'll talk a little bit about that. Then also you need to clarify the performances and expectations and be able to have measurable results. Also, we want to increase the objectivity. This evaluation can be very subjective, and also make it a good experience for both you and the employee. Okay, we have a couple of different forms that are available on the HR webpage. The forms are a tool. You don't have to use them, but they do help you organize the evaluation if you wish. If you don't use a form, you still have to use a formal letter, which includes the information that would be on the form, such as the rating, the accomplishments, goals, and objectives, and things like that. But the purpose of the form is so that we have a historical record. This will go into the person's file. It also provides a standard way of evaluating employees. That way you don't have one supervisor doing something totally different than another. And then it's also documentation that supports decisions. With a merit system, depending on the rating, that will affect the amount of merit for someone. Now, the purpose of the process itself, the process of evaluating an employee, so that you can discuss the performance, of course, highlight their strengths or their weaknesses, and where they can have opportunities to improve. And the key part of this is to establish goals and expectations and develop plans for the next year. Okay, in any evaluation, there's several different points of view. Of course, the employee's point of view, the manager's point of view, and then the university as a whole. Okay, so we're going to try to do both of these at the same time. Because you're doing two things. You're looking at what a person has done, what they've accomplished, the quality of their results. All of this is looking backwards, what they've done in the past year. So you're providing them feedback on things that have happened and what they've done. Okay? But also what you want to do is also provide them feedback so that going forward, they can have a better experience in the next year. So you've got to provide them through conversation, behavioral awareness, if there's issues with that, what kind of goals they're going to need, what kind of learning opportunities and training can they take advantage of, things like that. So it's a two-part process, looking at history, looking backwards, and like I mentioned before, we do have forms that can help you through this. But within those forms, it talks about different categories of what you're evaluating. So an employee should have a set of goals that they've been working on all year. These goals have different categories. Impact goals, these are going to be the major accomplishments or major goals that they've had in the year. They're going to be creative or unique ideas. They're going to have an impact on the growth or improvement of the department, the division, or the university. So in other words, these are not routine, day-to-day things that somebody just comes in and does every day. These are the important, critical goals that they've had for the year. And of course, there's your routine, your daily things that you have to do. It's what's going to be in the job description or what's expected of us. Another category is going to be professional development. So what kind of education or training does the person need? So are these self-motivated goals? I want to go get my master's degree. I want to be certified in Microsoft something. Are these institutional goals? We're setting up a whole new system and how to develop curriculum. You're going to need to learn how to do this. So you're going to need some kind of training, mentoring, something like that. So what kind of professional development are you going to be required to do? Then we have behavior. Hopefully most of your employees will not hopefully most of your employees will not have behavioral issues. But if you do, then we need to talk about what kinds of attitudes, behavioral patterns that need to be improved, that need to change. These can be positive as well. I mean, you can work with an employee about improving something they already do well. Okay, and then going forward, what are their objectives? What do they have to accomplish? When does it have to be completed? What's the deadline? They need to be specific based on the category: impact, routine, development, that kind of thing. Okay, and then we get to the rating. And there's 5 different ratings. These 2 are the, quote, above average ratings. So you have commendable, they're worthy of recognition, they've been effective, giving positive contributions, over and above normal expectations. As you can see, in parentheses it says minority, because this is a small group of your employees. We have distinguished, which is our top rating. This is your star. Okay? This is somebody who's clearly superior. They made significant changes. They solved problems. They brought recognition to the department, to the university. Okay? This is an even smaller minority of your total employees. Then we have a couple of low average ratings, which hopefully you won't have to use, but if you do, we have a needs improvement. This is somebody that's barely doing their job. And for them to continue to be employed, they're going to have to improve. Again, this should hopefully be a very small minority of your employees. Then we have unsatisfactory. They're not meeting expectations at all. They have to improve immediately, and if they don't improve, it will result in termination. And hopefully this is extremely small or none. So then what we have left is the middle. This should be the majority of your employees. they're meeting the expectations of the job and they're performing them in a satisfactory manner. Okay, so here's our 5 ratings. And the issues with these ratings is depending on the assessment, the issues, development, it's going to impact the kind of rating you give. So here's our typical bell curve. Pretty much, this is a visual form of what I was just talking about. Where your poor performers are going to be small number. Your star performers, your distinguished, your commendable are going to be a small number on the other end. And again, about 2/3 are going to be in the middle. Like I said, an evaluation can be a very subjective process, so it's very critical that you include fairness in this process. Okay, some examples are, how would you rate somebody on their teamwork if you've never actually witnessed them in a team doing the work? So you make an assignment, and people go off and do it. But if you're not involved or you're not observing, you have no way of knowing who's participating and who's not. Use of time. Do you observe their patterns? Do you know when they come in? Do you know when they leave? Do you know what they're doing the rest of the day? How do you assess their problem solving ability if you never give them anything challenging to do? So you say, oh, I can't give it to him because I'm not going to mess it up. Also, a person's knowledge. Quality versus quantity. Sometimes you have your eager beaver that's going to jump in and always volunteering, wanting more. But more isn't always better. Faster isn't always better. You may have an employee that sort of plods along, learns slowly, especially as we get older. Sometimes it takes us a little longer. Lots of new technology, but they take their time, they study it, and in the end, they really know how to do whatever it is. The new technology, the process, or whatever. So just because somebody's a little slower doesn't mean that that's a negative quality. How about their attitude? You have introverts and extroverts in your office. Somebody's very quiet, always in the corner, just doing their job. And you may have somebody that's always like, me, give it to me. So you have this extrovert. So you have to look at the pros and cons of both. And basically what I'm saying is you need to know your employees, their personalities and their styles. And then people's interpersonal skills. Sometimes we just have a bad day. You get along with everybody. No, of course not. So take that in consideration when you have an employee that's having some issues. Okay, we're basically, before you can know your employees, you have to know yourself. So in a study, people were asked if they were biased or not. And Most people say no. They rate themselves as highly, they're not biased, I like everybody equally, or that kind of stuff. But in actuality, we all have biases, whether we like to admit it or not. These are a few biases that affect your judgment. I'll talk about each one. So this is called the better than average effect. So it's a tendency to treat all members of a group as above average. When I was talking about the ratings, I was saying that your above average ratings should be a small number of your employees. Some supervisors think all their employees are above average. Basically, statistically impossible. Okay, we have a liking or a friendship bias. We tend to like some people more than others. I mean, that's just human nature. We typically like people that are more similar to ourselves. Sometimes we dislike people who disagree or challenge the way we think. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It keeps you on your toes. And you're not always right. And then, of course, we have some employees that are always telling you how wonderful you are, things like that. Of course, we all love that kind of thing, but you shouldn't let that affect the way you rate something. We have something called the halo effect. Sometimes you have a person that, what are they going to say? Oh, they're the sweetest, most wonderful person in the world. On the other hand, you may say, oh, that guy's trouble. Always doing something wrong. Okay? So you have a perception of that person as negative and positive. We mostly think of people as good or bad. You know, it's sort of a positive negative. Instead of thinking in mixed terms. We also have something called a dramatic effect. So you may have something, a crisis happen, one employee jumps in and saves the day. Okay? From thereafter, that person is wonderful at doing it wrong because they did this one great thing. So you generalize from one or two events, and that becomes your typical view of that person. Then we have the recency effect. An evaluation is over a span of a 1 year period. So when you're doing this evaluation, you have to remember what somebody did a year ago, 8 months ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago. You don't want to look at the last 2 or 3 things that they did at the end of the year and have that influence the whole evaluation. Okay, we have another thing called a ladder of influence. So basically, is an example of how you might attribute typical behavior to someone. So you have a 9 o'clock meeting, and John doesn't arrive until 9:30. Okay, that's a fact. But then you start thinking, well, these reasons, this is where it becomes subjective. So John knew there was a 9 o'clock meeting, so why was he late? Then your generalization, how does John always behave? Oh, John's always late. Or, geez, something must have happened. John's always here on time. So what is John really like? Now, it could be you have the attitude that, oh, John's always late, he's late again. But in reality, he's may have had some kind of accident. But because of that negative connotation you have, he'll be late again, you're basically thinking he's not going to have some kind of legitimate excuse. Or you may have the opposite. John's never late, he's always here, he's always early. So something must have happened. He'll be pursued. So you basically are already giving him an excuse without even knowing why he's late. Okay, so the best measurement is objective.